Welcome back, everybody. Automotive Inc. here. Today we got the Blackstone results back on Loki. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is a 24 Ford Super Duty F-250 Tremor Lariat Ultimate Package with the 7.3 Godzilla. It had about 4,000 miles on it when I changed the oil for the first time. Now Ford's severe service is usually substantially shorter than the extended interval or normal driving. I always change all my vehicles 4,000 for the first oil change, and then I try and stick at 5,000 or less. So something disturbing that I did see when I was pulling the oil sample and waiting for the oil sample collection kit to get here from Blackstone. I will link their website down below. I'm not supported by them, nor do I necessarily I don't get anything from you going over there. It's just one site you can use to analyze your oil. When I pulled the oil and then I got the sample container, once I dumped it all into the thing, there were quite a few metallic flakes in the oil, so kind of concerning. So it does take a little bit of time to get that sent off and get that analyzed. I think we're about 3 weeks or so since I sent it, maybe 4. I can't remember for sure. We'll look at what the report says, the date that the sample was taken and everything like that. Now, before we head into the office to look at those results, if you wouldn't mind smashing the subscribe button, it's in one of those corners for me, thumb up at the end of the video, and notification bells for you when I'm posting new content. Now, the reason why I also ran this oil sample was I had a 22 7.3 Godzilla that the engine suffered the delamination issue, and the engine started making bad noises. Took it to several different dealerships, and they basically said the engine has to completely go before they'll do anything about it. So I went back to the selling dealer, sold the truck back to them, and yes, it did inevitably get a new engine before they sold it. So I could have done that under warranty, but to be honest with you, I got a real sour taste in my mouth. Now, having seen this early on this truck, that's the reason why we analyzed it, so that way a lot of people can actually see the data behind it, and then of course we'll see what's going on. Now, as of other issues, I had several issues with this truck when I got it new. I will link those videos down below. And then the other day when I brought it back on about a 178-mile trip, got to a stop sign and the transmission shuddered a little bit, so it didn't replicate that again. I haven't experienced that. I have no idea what that was about, and then it finally just banged into gear and went. So we'll keep an eye on that, but let's go in and take a look at the results. All right, y'all, we are back in the office. We're gonna go over everything that happened. So I looked over this paperwork. It looks like I pulled a sample on July 28th. Just received that back last night late. Their customer service was really good. I did reach out in regards to why I hadn't received those results yet. They were quick to answer, saying that obviously it's just processing time. And they told me a week ago when I would get the results, and they were spot on with that. Now, when you get the results, they're going to give you an explanation guide, if you will. Let's take a look at that. So as you go through here, it'll show you averages, elements, what all of these wear and tear components mean and everything like that. So if you guys want to compare these to my numbers and what they mean, you definitely can pause the video here, take a screenshot, whatever you want to. And then they also give you this bad boy, which basically is just kind of a sample report, if you will. Now, each time you run a sample through them, your columns will then start stacking up, showing your mileage when you change those and stuff like that. And that way you can kind of keep track of what it is. Because this is the first oil sample, this column and this column are the only ones being filled. Over here, you see right here, this column shows average wear and tear samples from engines of that sort in its class down here. But it really clearly explains how their report works and everything like that. Again, their customer service is really good. On every email that I've got on the forums, it says if you have any questions, you can give them a shout and figure out anything that you need from that report. So when it comes to Loki, they also give you a description paragraph of what's going on. So let's look at the report. I did black out my personal information, but I did basically put a smudge mark. I've printed out a copy, made a smudge mark where my values are at compared to the average of what they've seen. And from what I can see, there are a lot of areas where they are higher, but we'll see if the second oil change suggest that is something going on or whatnot. All right, so here is the report. You can see right here, report date 8/21, the 7.3. You can see the name unit ID is Loki. 4,000 miles is when we change that. And right here it says, it's not really clear how many miles the engine has on it, but we suspect this is one of the first few oil changes of your 24 Ford. With that in mind, the extra metal is likely the result of wear in and new parts, and the silicone can probably be attributed to sealers and lubes. We should see improvement. This is based on oil samples that are typically 5,300 miles on the current oil. The slightly thin viscosity is just a minor point to note. Check back 5,000 miles to compare. So my oil is 1,300 miles before that. So interesting enough, this is where it's at. So again, these smudges are all the areas I'm higher versus the average. 4,000 miles right here, and you can see if the next one will go in this column, so on and so forth, or it'll start over here and go back. So not a big deal. So you can see right there on the aluminum, we're high. Chromium, we're high. Iron, we're almost double and a half. Copper, we're way high. Lead, high. Tin, molybdenum, nickel. So as you just go through here, you can see those averages. Not so much down here is it a big deal, but up here again, if we're molybdenum is kind of like a lubricant and everything like that. I don't put really any additives in this truck. So the fact it's 44 points over the universal averages, that's quite unique. We come down here, and then again, they made note of the oil viscosity being lower than it should. And that's something to me basically kind of puts into a lot of things. The Ford truck runs hotter than the Chevy. It runs hotter than the Ram. And that is interesting that the viscosity can break down for a lot of reasons, but again, heat's the destroyer. And so we will take a close look at that. Again, it's unique that these levels are that high, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on it. Hopefully the next oil change, we're almost 1,000 over when I changed oil last. So I'm going to change again at 4 because I want to keep on that interval unless I experiencing some type of engine issue. Hopefully, though, they said likely those metal flakes are because it's a new engine. That's not necessarily a guarantee. People have seen that DLAM issue early. They've seen it, 50,000 miles, and some have seen it in the 100,000 miles. There's really no reason or rhyme to it, but hopefully everything will level out soon because I really want to see the Godzilla succeed. I really think that between the Chevy and the Ford, these are two of the best gas engines that have probably ever been made. And the growing pains need to end soon for the Zilla because the L8T is not as powerful and it's a great engine. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to give you one more quick look of this if you want to see it. That way you guys can pause this, take a look at it. And again, this is somewhat of an added cost. So when we talk about gas versus diesel maintenance, if you're going to be sending in your gas engine every time and you wouldn't do this with a diesel, you're going to extend a little bit of extra cost in those maintenance segments. But at the end of the day, this is for information collection. It's for people to communicate and create conversation about the engine. So hopefully that helped. That is that. Again, they didn't seem overly worried about it, but we did put a full synthetic in this time versus the synthetic blend. So hopefully that will help because those typically don't break down with the heat and everything or as quick as, say, a conventional oil or a synthetic blend. But as always, appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for coming back, and make sure you subscribe so you can be part of the channel in the future.